Welcome. I'm here today with Peter Ray Allison and Eunice Morecroft-low, collectively known as Mythic Echoes. I want to start by asking you guys to introduce yourselves. Eunice?
My name is Eunice Morecroft-low. I am from Malaysia. I moved over here a year and a half ago now. I think close to 2 years. The only way I know how to make friends is to play D&D and tabletop games. So I started joining events and stuff. And then there was this ad that came out for a GM. They want a GM basically for a event in a castle. And I signed myself up. And that's where I met the lovely Peter here. And we knocked it off because he borrowed his GM screen to me, and that's how I remember him. Then also his fiery red hair. Cannot get that out of my head. We started knocking off, and then we started talking about gothic stuff, and then we talked about clothing and stuff like that. And then one day, he just rang me up some point and went, "Hey, someone asked me to run a tabletop event in Derby because the Derby recruited Dracula whole thing is happening, and I didn't know anything about it. So I started researching, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna do it, because I basically did it in Malaysia back then for many years. And when I came over here, I decided to that's what I want to do, and I want to get back into it. And I was very fortunate about it. So one thing led to another. We did one, and then we got invited to do the LARP in the castle, Elveston Castle. And then this year they asked us to come back again. So I don't think we did such a bad job. That's how we basically started Mythic Echoes, with a dream, not a lot of knowing what to do, because whole new country, whole new laws, and we did a pretty good job. And now we're back. It's the second time now, guys.
And Peter, how have you ended up organising vampire events?
Okay. About 2 years ago, I was at a talk given by Dacre Stoker, the great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, who was going to talk about Dracula and his writing, and also Dracula's connection with Derby, which he revealed at the talk. And it was announced that there was going to be a Dracula Returns Derby, a celebration of Dracula being performed on stage for the first time, which was in Derby in 1924 at the Grand Theatre. And to kind of celebrate that occasion, there's going to be a series of events throughout the year and the following year, all connected together, celebrating the various aspects of Dracula. And so I kind of did my usual thing of sidling up to the organiser and going, "You do know Dracula was massively influential on gaming." He said, "Okay then." So I became what's called a Dracbassador, an ambassador for these events, and then was invited to submit some ideas. And then I met Eunice, who'd just come from Malaysia. I said, "Oh, I can organise scare events, and I'm really into gaming, and I like goth and vampires." And I went, have I got an event for you? And so basically we kind of combined together. And I mean, I've never run events before. I love gaming. I'm a freelance writer by trade. I've been writing for BBC, Guardian, Independent. I'm also written fiction stories for Fox Spirit Publishing. But actual organising events I've never done. But I did know lots of people. So I started talking to people and kind of got various GMs involved. And we ran our first Vampire Games Day, May last year. Basically, 5 GMs in a gothic formal library in Derby. And then 6 months later, we organised a Vampire Larp. And what we really want this to be is more than anything else, is a celebration of Dracula and vampires in gaming. It doesn't matter if you're a hardcore gamer, you do not need to know the rules inside. It is for people that are interested in games or in vampires and just want to have a go and have fun. We've had people that have never ever played a role-playing game before come along and had a whale of a time. And for me, that is mission successful.
Mythic Echoes is the events company or gaming company? Where does it sit?
Well, I think the best way to describe it is a collaborative storytelling events provider, which is a posh way of saying
we're an event company.
We're an events company, and it's kind of, we came up with a name because we couldn't think of anything else. Because it's like, one's kind of like, to symbolise our partnership. Because it wasn't just going to be Peter Vaesan, it wasn't just going to be Eunice, it was going to be us together, working together. And this is sort of like our label, our brand. And it took us ages trying to find a name.
To be fair, I think thinking of that name And thinking of the logo took the longest amount of time. Planning the event did not even take that much time as we do thinking of the name and then the logo to go with it.
Absolutely. It's we came with bouncing ideas between each other and like, oh, why do we like that one? Oh, that doesn't work for me. How about this one? No. And then, oh, we like this. This is really good. Oh, it's been taken. Oh, you bastards. We loved Mythic Threads. And then found there was a sock. I know. And then some Belgium of a sock company who called themselves Mythic Threads but hadn't posted anything for 5 years, but had kind of locked their accounts so that we couldn't use that domain name or that like social media handle. It's like, God damn it, you've done nothing for 5 years and now you just left it and you...
I remember at some point we keep wanting to use storytelling, like storyteller in our title.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out how to put it fit because I truly believe that the shorter the name, the easier people remember it by. Because that's how all names are. The shorter they are, the better. The simpler the logo, the better. And I was just like, we can't, if you put storyteller in there, the name would be too long because storyteller is such a common word that people use that almost everything after that was taken. So I was like, it's either that we have a 5-word name or we just don't use it. And we went into like a slight debate or like a slower argument of going like, we can't use this. And then he was like, but I really like it. I'm like, we can't use it.
This is why Eunice and I work so well together, because we each know different things that complement each other. And the stuff that Eunice knows that I don't, and stuff that I know that Eunice does, and we just work well together.
You've got the Dracula Returns to Derby. Was that what kicked this off, or was this in parallel with what you were doing? Or?
Basically, Dracula Returns to Derby is an Arts and Humanities Research Council funded project celebrating the 100th anniversary of Dracula being performed on stage. Now, they just then started looking for third parties, external providers, look for ideas of what they could do to celebrate Dracula and Derby. And this is where I come in, where I got sidled up to my mate, Alex, who organises the Edgelit, which is a science fiction, fantasy and horror literature convention in Derby, and who had organised Dacre Stoker to come to Derby to talk about Dracula. And as I sidled up to him, and you do know, Dracula's massively influential on gaming, and there might be some gaming events we could organise for you, isn't there? So he said, yeah, that's a good idea. Send me some ideas. So I came up with 6. Discounted 2 due to health and safety issues. Pitched 4, and had 2 accepted. And this one said, I better organise a Vampire Games Day. How do we do that? And then I met Eunice. He said, oh, you do events, do you? Excellent, have I got an event for you? And we started working together, and we just both love gaming and writing and creating and just having fun and goths and vampires. So, yeah, it's a brilliant match, and I'm really glad to have met her.
Is Vampire Games Day tied to Dracula Returns to Derby, or are they individual events?
Dracula Returns to Derby is the driver behind it. We are part of Vampire Games Day 2 is part of the Dracula Returns to Derby family
campaign,
of events.
I would say.
Yeah,
it's an umbrella. Yeah. So the head is Dracula, and then below that there is many other events. So there is an origami, there is storytelling, and then we are just under the umbrella to promote Dracula Return to Derby. They have a whole bunch of events promoting Dracula. So they create like the origami Dracula. That's really, really cool. There's also like a museum back in Derby. You see the outfits, the costuming for Dracula Return to Derby. It's really, really, really detailed as well. There are also like screenplays that you can look at. You should go and look at it.
Yeah, I mean, Derby wasn't on my bucket list, but I might take a trip now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this past year celebrating Dracula and Derby, and it's just going. I mean, in May last year, there was the Dracula conference, which was a gathering of researchers, writers, academics, discussing the various aspects of Dracula. And I was gave my talk about Dracula's influence on role-playing games there, and I'll be running again next month for Tabletop Gaming Live.
I had no idea that Dracula and Derby were linked.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was very widely known that Dracula was first performed on stage in Derby. When people think of Dracula, they think of Whitby, because that's where the Demeter ran aground and where Dracula arrived. But the kind of, what they said is Dracula Return to Derby, I said they want to kind of get a bit of that Dracula money, so to speak, the Dracula prestige, and kind of get some recognition for Derby and the history of Dracula. And also, like, especially, a lot of the films that we see now are not so much adaptations of the novel, they're adaptations of the play. Because Dracula in the novel is much far more monstrous than compared to the play, was much more the genteel monster. He's charismatic, he's very kind of sexual, sensual, as it were. But if you read the novel, he's distinctly monstrous. He has less like charm there that, we see in the films now.
Well, it's an interesting character, and they crop up. Vampires crop up everywhere. You've got the lycanthropes, you've got vampires. You've got this thread going through role-playing games, and you've got the horror thread. Now, the horror community is catered for with games like Cthulhu. There's much more going on in terms of like theatre of mind. The dinner parties, that kind of freeform role-playing. How much does that feature in what you guys do?
Well, our Vampire Larp that we did for the Jackson Derby was very much in sort of that dinner parties-esque style of role play where there's very little rules. Well, Allison Castle is a grade 2 listed building. So we said, we can't have combat. Really, no combat. We cannot have any fighting. Just no fighting. Just be nice to each other, please. Because, a missed time swing and you're going to cost us £5 million. So it's purely social. You are monsters, you're vampires, you gather together for an auction. And we systematized the exchange of resources is the best way I can describe it. So it's less about winning than it is about engaging in the immersion of what it is to be a vampire at an auction to win the vial of blood belonging to Vlad Tepes.
It's kind of like tabletop games, like where winning is not the end goal of D&D, isn't it? You don't win D&D, you enjoy D&D. It's the same for our LARP as well, where there's no winning and there's no losing. It's how much you play into the character. And also it makes our LARP a lot more accessible to people who can't exactly be really, really physical, that can't really fight. And I'm one of them as well, where I can't really be as physical as I want to be. Working towards it, but slowly. It makes it accessible because what you really do is to talk, and even if you can't talk, there is always you can always write notes and stuff like that. It's about how you play yourself into the character, into our world itself, and we can always write stories around you. And because it's a very small LARP, whereas there is LARPs with 100 or 200 people to thousands of people, we have about less than 50 people. Hence, we can cater a lot of story based around the characters' information you give us, and we can give you a more inclusive and more horrifying experience, I would say. Basically, you feel more involved in that story, and you feel included, basically. And that is one of the reasons why I like parlor LARPs, which what we are. We are parlor LARP, we're not a combat LARP.
If I were to come along to the LARP, do I bring my character and then we work out who just by talking, or is there a framework around it? Like, do I get a pack?
Yeah, we do have a framework. So basically we have different families. So it's like the grand families. So we have 5 families in total. And basically we create a little quiz, which is done by Peter's daughter. She's brilliant. And basically you answer questions about yourself or answer questions about this character you want to bring in, whether they are aggressive, they are charming, they're intellectual, what they are, and they'll tell you which family you are given to. And the family itself has a personality and a goal attached to it. So you can create a character based around that family as well. There's no abilities, there's no powers, there is no like stats in it. You basically create a character in that family, and in that family itself have its own goals and its own ambitions, and you act upon the ambitions however you like. You can also betray your family. That's also another path you can go to. There's no limitations on what you can do as long as you don't stab someone in real life. We're okay with it.
Is that something that happens on the day, or is it before the day?
When people buy a ticket to go to the LARP, they choose which dynasty they want to be a part of. Now, they can just choose one, or they could try a personality quiz, and then that will say, well, based on your answers, this will give you the dynasty that's closest aligned to what you respond to. And then we say, or if you're not sure, speak to us and we'll chat with you and say, well, no, this is how they are. It's all kind of based on the archetype of vampires and the hunting style of them, the way they are predators. So like some are much more charming, kind of seduce their prey. Others are like the primal hunters, think Near Dark or 30 Days of Night. And it's kind of like, and they're sick there, and your character sheet is basically your name, your starting dynasty, and who you owe a debt to and who owes you a debt. And that's it. The personality, and like, there's no powers, because trying to represent powers in a game is hard. So let's lessen the hurdles of entry. Let's kind of make it as easy as possible for people to get involved, so not looking at rule books and not kind of like, oh, do I have to learn all this? No, you're a vampire in the modern day. Go with it. Just don't hate anyone, please.
Yeah. I think one of the hurdles for people to go into a hobby like LARP and tabletop to begin with is the fact that they have to read through a lot of rules. And there's micro RPGs for sure, but most long-term games and more popular games have really thick handbooks. And that was one of my issues with joining a tabletop game to begin with back then, was I have to read a very thick book. And I'm not very good at reading. I'm a very picture person. So the point of like having like events like this is that there is no need for you to know how to play the game. You can come in with zero knowledge on what D&E is, on whatever the system that we're running, because we're running multiple systems that you can try different things as well. You can go in with zero interest. You can go in with zero knowledge. Please come in with some interest. You come in with zero knowledge, and our GMs are very prepared to guide you through everything. And so you don't get overwhelmed with the information that you come into a game, that creating a character. All our characters are created for you. So you don't have to go through like, oh, I want this I need this, and then there's math involved. So some people like that. And at some point now I like it as well. But first starting out, it's very difficult. And that's why we're trying to make it easier for people to come in, enjoy the game, and go, I like this game now. I can now invest more of my brain power into understanding this game a little bit more and create my own character, maybe my own games. And so our Vampire game days are evolved around that, and so is our LARP, where it's easy to accessible. And even if you can come in with barely any knowledge of what to do, our NPCs will urge you into the story and kind of like push you towards the thing and try to make sure no one gets stuck in a corner, basically.
What's the kind of target audience like? I mean, it's open to everyone, I assume, but is there a specific thing it might appeal? I mean, drama students, obviously. But are you hoping to attract a certain kind of person?
We don't have any preconceived notions. I mean, like, people interested in gaming, people that want to try gaming, people that are into storytelling, who are into horror. To be honest, the goth and alt community. But if you got interested in gaming, storytelling, or just having fun for a day with your friends, that's it.
There is an age limit on our LARPs, though.
Yes.
Because we don't want the liability.
Right.
Yes, yeah, anyone like 18 and over. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So think it's 15 and above for our LARPs.
Yeah.
And for our tabletop events, because we have context warnings, because these are mostly horror-ish based games that revolves Dracula, and then a lot of them have like tabletop. There is killing, there is everything goes with it. So we do try to make sure that if there is kids joining, that the parents are with the kid, because we don't want the liability of having to censor anything about the game, because that will affect the rest of the players as well. But so far we don't have that, because all of our players that joined the game are 15 and above, so we're good so far.
What's going on then for after this? I mean, it sounds like you've got the next, 6 months planned, maybe a bit more?
The Vampire Larp's coming up. We will be running it again. We've been pestered and badgered by friends and people that went there that said, nope, we really enjoyed that. We want more, please. More. And, okay, fine, we'll do another one. So at this stage, we're currently seeking to confirm a venue and a date. Ideally, that will be Allison Castle. We're currently in conversations with Derbyshire County Council. And just once we kind of had the conversations, we'll know for definite when and where we can do it. We have got looking alternatives at the moment, but this is an ongoing discussion. And yeah, we want to do more events. We want to branch out. Maybe not do vampires. Maybe, but vampires are cool. So hey ho, let's keep doing vampires.
How many people attended the last one?
We had 30 players in total at the last one, including some NPCs as the monarchs of the dynasties. But yeah, it was essentially all the players gathered in Allison Castle for an auction to bid on a vial of blood belonging to Vlad Tepes. And then, as the game went on, it was revealed at the end that the auctioneer himself was Vlad Tepes, who was the founder of one of the dynasties. And at that point, he declared, I am Vlad Tepes. All the dynasties collapsed. So all the monarchs collapsed. Basically, and then he just walked out. Basically, the auction itself was an announcement that Vlad Tepes was back and had returned and was here to stake his claim on the dynasties. Where we go from here? Well, there's a lot we can do in that space, and we are developing this plot as we speak.
Awesome. So how do you get to that plot? Is that a collaborative effort, or is one of you more inclined to write that kind of stuff? Or?
It's a lot of coffee and a lot of sit-downs together. So I ran a few Parlor Labs back in... I ran one Parlor Lab, and I was part of an organizing team for one of Malaysia's only labs. So now there's two, but back then there was only one. So tabletop is very small in Malaysia, but it's growing. It's growing really, really fast. So I always think that a plotless game does not work really well for new players. New players are more driven to a goal. If you tell them what their end goal is, they will like kind of hive point towards it. And then more experienced players would start seeking out points, whereas new players don't. So we need to have a kind of set storyline. But instead of having a set storyline, we actually have 3 points of what the players can do to reach that end. But there will always be an end. There will always be a climax. And it's like a storytelling thing, right? You must always have the thing. So when we spoke together, and I was very stern about making sure that they have the points and they have to have goals. Each of them must have like a goal in mind to do it. And then he inputted a lot of the vampire influence, whereas I'm more of the player experience of the situation. So yeah, it was a lot of coffee.
I think yeah, you were very stern, delightfully stern. And I think you kind of brought in the mechanistic element and how we could fuse the gameplay with the storytelling. And I kind of delivered in a lot of the texture and narrative and the reason why everyone would gather, the link, and also kind of using Vlad Tepes as one of the founders, and the grand reveal was kind of then linked into Dracula Sons of Derby because Vlad Tepes was the partial basis for Dracula.
That was very genius on your part.
Thank you. I was quite pleased with that one myself.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So we just kind of so we just worked together, and we just kind of came by developing the narrative goals for each of the dynasties. We went on that for ages.
Yeah.
That was a lot of kind of because we only got one shot at this.
Yeah.
And we wanted it to work, so we had to kind of really bash it out and back and forth and go, what about this? Oh, this doesn't work.
So
and
when
eventually,
because when we're forming this LARP, we did not think that there might be a second. We wanted a second, but we wanted this might be the first and the last LARP we ever do. And unless maybe the university invites us back, where we have to redo the whole thing. But we think that this was the last one, and therefore we need to create a whole system. We need to create a whole storyline behind the whole thing. So it's basically like writing a whole system out from scratch, but only for one day, and someone has to read it all in one page because there's only the attention span I have. So therefore I base people's attention span on my attention span, where if I can read it and understand it, therefore people can read it and understand it. So it was like creating this whole elaborate world that we tried to put in with like tidbits here and there, but also not telling them about the tidbits, but also trying to figure out how to put it into the world where they will be like, oh yes, this thing connects to that thing. That part was really, really fun, but Created Dynasty was not that fun. Yeah. It was, oh my god. that's
Yeah, because we had 5 different, we had come with the names of them. So we had the Orlok, the Tepes, the Bathory, obviously Elizabeth Bathory, Orlok, and all so on. And we kind of like alluded to backstories based on their kind of the background of the dynasty. It's just like, obviously the Orloks are the kind of the, primal hunters, so therefore they're kind of more regressive or, predatorial and very savage. And but kind of leave it to the players to interpret that how they want. We've said to the players, we do not tell you how to play your character or dress your character. You show us how you would think a vampire in the modern day would appear. So we had these glorious, gorgeous kind of ball gowns. We had these kind of like leathers. We had like denim. We had a diverse array of vampires on archetypes, and it was just like, mission accomplished. You did it. This is what we wanted, and it all worked together.
It was pretty amazing to see everyone, to also like help people figure out what to wear, especially people who don't really dress up or like just want to dress up for this event. We actually created. I didn't create it. Your daughter created it. She's brilliant. She created mood boards for each character. So like there is people who are more like punk rock kind of. There are people with ball gowns, more like Victorian suits and ties. It was amazing to see how like our vision, because we never know how this thing goes, but we can plan as much as we can. But that's the down point of doing events, is that you can plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, but we don't know how the outcome is going to be until the day itself. So many things could go wrong, and about how we kind of figure out what part goes wrong and what part goes right. But to see like everything that we have planned for so many months come together, I think that is the best feeling that you can ever get in the end of the day. And we're excited to bring back Vampire Games Day 2. Now with like different GMs, we have a lot more systems than before as well.
And we're going to have like afterwards as well, we're going to have, there's going to be a raffle. We've got some fantastic prizes afterwards. A raffle, like we have got a games bundle from White Wolf, the Vampire the Masquerade bundle, some comic books from 2000 AD. We've got a Vaesan bundle from 3D Publishing, and they're going to have like obviously a costume competition. So like you don't have to dress up for Vampire Games Day 2. You can dress up as much as little as you want, but those that do wish to dress up, the best dressed player will therefore win a prize. Secret prize.
It's also a pretty long day as well, so I do urge people to dress more comfortably than more extravagant. You can dress as extravagant as long as you're comfortable with sitting in that room for a prolonged amount of time, because obviously you want to make your money's worth, and we don't want a 2-hour game, where we want a longer gameplay. So we have a lunch break in between, and we come back. So it's a full day of gaming. You're getting a full day of gaming for £20. £20. There we go.
Yeah, free entry to the raffle, and obviously costume competition is completely free to enter. And then afterwards, all the players are invited to join us and the GMs for a meal at an all-you-can-eat buffet, because gaming is hungry work. So fucking let's finish the.
It's not included in the price.
That's not included in the price.
It's not included in the price.
No, you're invited. You still have to pay for it. But it's an additional extra if you would like to join us and the GMs. It's our way of thanking the GMs for taking
your time out
to work.
Doing this whole thing.
I don't feel comfortable for someone like volunteering their time for us and not getting something in return as a thank you. So at the very least, you're invited to a meal out as a thank you. All you can eat buffet. Eat as much as you want, because quite frankly, you've earned it.
Awesome. That's really cool. So you've built a world, you've built a system, you've got the second games day coming up now. So what do you guys, when you're in your quiet moments, when you're thinking about the future, what would you really like to see this grow into? Do you have that vision yet?
So I think what I would like to do more is to be able to turn this into something that I can do a bit further from Derby as well, to do it around the UK and maybe outside of the country as well, to basically do like introduction gothic theme games in all historical buildings as well. That really brings into the team, and I would like to obviously host more LARPs in different historical buildings as well, and the LARPs are a much bigger task to run than tabletop. Tabletop is quite, I wouldn't say easy to run, but it's quite straightforward. Where you had the GM, you had the table, you need to make sure that the table is suitable and all the stuff, but the LARP itself is a whole other ball game, and it has a lot more logistics as well, and I would like to run more of that in much bigger scale, and maybe host a masquerade ball. I think that's one of my dreams, to hold a large scale LARP themed masquerade ball. There is a few in the UK, but I would like to have one in the Midlands, because I don't think there's one in the Midlands. I know there's one in London. But I would love to host one in the Midlands itself, because we have so much, well, you guys have so much really, really old historical buildings, and you guys might be sick of looking at it, but I'm not. Everything is fresh to me, and it all looks so beautiful. You guys have really nice pubs as well. I'm going on a tangent. You guys are it's a very beautiful country, and I think because you guys are living into it, you guys already see the beauty in it, but from a fresh point of view, it's like our dream. It's basically everyone in Malaysia was like, oh, we want a historical castle. That's what we want. I want to play D&D in a historical castle, and I get to do it. And I want to be able to let other people experience like the joy that I have when I first started like playing in a whole castle. And I'm like, I lived my dream. I'm done. I can go off now.
That's super. That's awesome.
What Eunice said.
That's very cool. You know, I remember back in the late 80s when I think it was GM magazine, they ran a feature on this new thing called freeform role-playing, it was called at the time. Do you still, like, and it was like, it wasn't a giant leap from tabletop into what, you know, is now LARPing. But do people make that transition? Is it easy? Like, when people turn up for Vampire Games Day, is that the same people who would then enjoy the LARP, or is it very different audiences?
I say like a Venn diagram. because people who enjoy tabletop might just enjoy the fact that they like to roll dice, they like to sit in comfortable clothing, they like to be able to play with numbers. Whereas LARP, there is very little numbers, especially our LARP has very little numbers, and it's a lot more like you have to do it. You want to seduce someone, you can't roll a d20 for it. You have to actually go up to someone and be like, hey. There's not, so some people who play tabletop would love to do LARP. Some people who do LARP would love tabletop, but I feel like the Venn diagram that there is a small amount of people that would like both. They would say like, I will try one, I will try the other, and they might stick with it, but it's like a Venn diagram. Not everyone will like it, but some people will like it.
Yeah, I remember in the 1990s, like especially like the mid-90s, when Vampire the Masquerade LARPs really took off, and only about half of the players were actually had played Vampire the Masquerade. People just come along, this looks really cool and gothy and is kind of into my subculture. Well, basically, Vampire the Masquerade was adopting a lot of the UK Gothic subculture, and well, to be honest, American subculture as well. And a lot of players were coming from the rock, goth, and metal community into LARPing, and from then into role-playing. Because it was kind of tapping into the aesthetics and language that the LARPers, that the goths and the rockers knew intimately. So I think there's a lot, and also it's open to everyone. I mean, people like stories. Storytelling is a very old tradition. We've been telling stories for millennia. And roleplay is just a new iteration of that tradition.
Yeah, I'd like to also try to get more the younger generation. I said the younger generation. The younger generation to go into tabletop and LARP as well, because it's a great way to for tabletop. It's a great way to introduce language. It's a great way to introduce math as well. Math for the younger kids, because I know a couple of my friends, and I did it once as well, where I GM for kids. And it's to introduce English language, because English wasn't their first language, but we had to play the entire game in English, and that's how they are forced to use the word the language. And for older kids is to encourage creativity, because well I'm guilty as well, because we're all stuck on our phones, right? And we're kind of force feed a lot of information, but we're not. The ability to transfer that information into something of your own is something that everyone needs. Even if you're in STEM, even if you're in a creative field, that is something that everyone needs. And it's great for kids, young adults to really start going to it. So it's great for and LARP as well is a great way to socialize, because in this day and age where you no longer go out to introduce yourself, you can either go to the pub or you can nothing. Whereas this, it's a great way to start talking outside. And last time when I was back in a teenager, LARP was very helpful for me, because I'm playing a character. I'm no longer myself. I'm no longer shy and timid. I am this brave character I created myself, and I was that kind of transitioned that braveness to my real life. So that is something that everyone could benefit from. And I think obviously, this is a whole subculture thing, right? You have to be somewhat gothic to be in this vampire thing. However, if it benefits anyone, so
we had some players come along to the Vampire Larp. They'd never met before, and they just heard that they're meeting up to have a vampire film night tonight.
Awesome.
And they'd never met before, and they just kept in touch, and they're going to come to Vampire Game Day 2 together, because they both live near Leeds, so they're going to pick up each other on the way and drive in together. And the spot. You're making friends through events that
we made.
I thought, mission accomplished.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good outcome.
Yeah, it's a very social game. I mean, a lot of people think it's LARP and it's tabletop. It's all what the nerds do. They all hide in their basement. And I'm we are socializing. That's how we socialize. That's how we like to enjoy our Friday nights, our Sunday nights. That's how we like to socialize, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the longer in now day and age, there's a lot less stigma with that as well, where you can go out and play Warhammer, and you can go I'm going to go for a pod, Magic the Gathering pod later. No one's going to bat an eye. Whereas back then, they'll be you have no life. And I'm no, that's my life. I do enjoy my life.
Yeah, the sort of goth metal industrial kind of subculture was intimately tied to role-playing. First time I heard Metallica was in a Games Workshop. Bolt Thrower was a practically a Games Workshop product. Now it seems to be a much more diverse kind of audience, and like you say, it's much more open and welcoming. But it's great that we have these spaces for younger people and older people, who need these spaces. The high streets are going, the pubs are going, and it doesn't have to be profit driven. If the value is creating those relationships, there's a lot of value in that. It's really great that you're doing all this. So, when is it, and how do I get tickets?
I forgot the date. Oh, I know it's the last week of February. It's the week after the Valentine's Day.
21st of February. Okay, tickets are available now for Vampire Games Day 2, which will be held on Saturday, 21st of February at the Wardwick in Derby. Tickets are available at the Derby Museum's website, so just Google Vampire Games Day 2 and that'll be the top of your list because there's nothing else out there like us.
Awesome. You can also get all the details on tabletopsentinel.com, and we'll be covering this and we'll follow up as well. So that's really cool. So thanks for joining me. Good luck with the event.
Thank you.
And I hope to, if not to see you on the day, then I hope that we can talk again afterward.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us on. It's been great.
Thank you.